Before I consider the Agile model for the software development lifecycle, I'd like to remind you of the waterfall model because it will help put the advantages of the Agile model into context. The last video in the playlist looked at the waterfall model. This is where we start off doing requirements analysis, which involves interviewing the stakeholder and gathering the requirements for the proposed system. The output from this phase is a requirements analysis document, which is then used in the design phase by the designers. The output from the design phase is design documentation, which is then passed on to the implementation phase, and this document guides the computer programmers in the production of the software system, which is the writing of the actual lines of the computer program. This then continues until the system is complete. The next phase is the testing phase, where we test a computer system produced to see if it actually implements the requirements as they appeared in the requirements analysis document. Once tested, the software is deployed, which means we give it to the customers and they start using it. And of course, we are then said to be in the maintenance phase, where the software house will maintain the software, fixing any bugs that might appear and updating the software as and when needed. As outlined in the last video of this playlist, the trouble with the waterfall model is it is too rigid to be able to deal with creeping requirements. These are requirements that come into view when you're developing the software. The waterfall model is suggesting you do the requirements, finish it, do the design, finish the design, write the code, finish writing the code, test the code. When you finish testing, you deploy and you're in the maintenance phase. As an example, let's say during the testing phase, the stakeholders say, look, we also want the system to do the following, which was not found out about during the original requirements analysis. This means you have to move into what is sometimes referred to as downtime. So you have to stop the testing, you go back and you do more requirements, you then alter the design, and then you write the code. Ultimately, it's stopping the flow of the development of the software system. Essentially, the Agile model is designed to avoid the need for downtime. It's designed to be able to deal easily with creeping requirements which will inevitably come to light during the development of the software system. Before I move on to have a look at the Agile model, I'd like to stress the following at this point. The Agile model still is involved in all of the phases you're looking at in front of you. You still have to do requirements analysis, design. You'll be in an implementation phase. You'll have to do testing. And of course, the software will be deployed and you'll be in the maintenance phase. So let's move on and have a look at the Agile Software Lifecycle. And we're going to consider the Agile model. We start off by doing requirements analysis. This is where the analysts go to the stakeholders and interview them and gather the requirements for the proposed system. But they don't interview them for so long to find out everything that they want the system to do, the proposed system. They just get enough information so they can move forward with the development. The output from this phase will be appropriate requirements analysis documentation, but this documentation will not be complete in the sense that there was no intention of finding out what all the requirements are for the proposed system. But this documentation is passed on to the design phase. The designers will take the requirements analysis documentation and will produce appropriate design documentation. Of course, the design documentation will in effect only be the design of part of what will ultimately be the overall complete system. And this design documentation is then moved on to the implementation phase. During the implementation phase, the programmers, the coders, will use the design documentation to write the computer program for what is essentially only part of the proposed software system, as defined in the design documentation that is yet to be fully complete. Once the coders have finished what in effect is only part of the proposed software system, we move into the testing phase where the software produced so far is tested to see if it is working and seeing if it matches the requirements that have been found out about so far during the analysis phase. Once the testing of the software produced so far is complete, we will have a piece of working software. Now, we don't deploy this, we don't move into the maintenance phase because the software system is nowhere near complete. However, we do have a subset of what ultimately will become part of the overall complete system, and we can use this with the stakeholders. This has a number of advantages. The first thing is the stakeholders can see progress is being made. They're not waiting for us to have gone through a full life cycle before they see anything associated with what the finished system will be. We can use this completed software to show the stakeholders, and this would typically be the role of the analysts who are involved in the requirements analysis phase. So the software is shown to the customers, they can see what's being produced. We then have feedback of what's been produced so far, which helps moving forward with getting more accurate requirements. So we can gather the requirements with the stakeholders, and the feedback of seeing the bits of the software that are already being produced assists in us getting more accurate requirements for the system. So the issue of creeping requirements becomes almost redundant because we have no creeping requirements with this approach because we're continually going round a loop asking the customers, well, this is the bit of software working so far. Let's have a chat about what else you want the system to do. So the requirements are continually fed in during the development of the software. With the waterfall model, you can see that you do analysis, finish, design, finish, and so on. And at any of those points, requirements can alter, and then you have to have downtime. Whereas here, you're continually building on the requirements, which you could regard as creeping requirements if you like, but they're requirements that does not derail the overall development process. It becomes part of the development process. So when we finish the testing, at this point, what do we do now? Well, we go back and we do more requirements. And of course, the requirements process now can take into account the software as is produced so far, which helps gather the requirements. And then what we will do, we'll pass the requirements analysis documents onto design. The designers will use this new updated documentation to produce an updated design document, which is then passed on to the implementation phase, where the coders take the new design document and write the code. And then, of course, we do testing. And at the end of the testing process, we have more working code. And this means we can then go back to the requirements analysis phase. The analysts will interview the stakeholders, but have the advantage of more working software. So we can gather more requirements during this phase. And these requirements will most probably be more accurate because we've got working software to show the customer, to show the stakeholders. And of course, the output from the requirements analysis phase will be an updated requirements analysis document. And this can then be passed on to the design phase. And the designers will now have updated documentation. They will then update their design documents which are then passed on to the implementation phase for the coders to look at the new updated design. They will then code, guided by this updated design documentation. And when they finish that code, it will move to the testing phase. We will keep on going round this loop. Of course, we will eventually get to the last time round the loop where the software will be complete. And when tested, we move on to the maintenance phase. So let's move on to what I like to refer to as the build of the software system. And I'm referring to the build as represented by the Agile model of the software lifecycle. This is where we start off with a development cycle 1, often referred to as an iteration, but more frequently referred to as a sprint. But we can talk about that later in the playlist. And this is where you will perform some analysis, produce the analysis documentation, but only for a subsystem of what the overall proposed system will be. You then design based upon the analysis you've done so far, produce design documents, which you then pass on to the coding phase for the programmers to code up the design as so far represented. Then you go on to the testing phase. And that's development cycle 1. And of course, at the end of this cycle, you've got some software that you can show the customer, that you can show the stakeholder. And this will inform the requirements gathering, hopefully more accurately. And this will occur during the development cycle 2, where you do more analysis, but this time you've got the software to show the stakeholders. You produce the analysis documentation, you move on to design, you produce the design documentation, you then code up the new designs, you then go on to the testing, and you've got further with the production of the code, and then you can move on to the development cycle 3, where you've got code that you can use during the analysis phase, during the requirements phase, where you can hopefully get more accurate requirements from the stakeholder, and you produce an updated analysis document, which you then pass on to the designers, who then produce an updated design document, which is passed on to the coders, and then you test. And you keep on going through these development cycles. And this essentially is what the Agile model is recommending, that you go through these cycles, these iterations, these sprints. Change is inevitable. Requirements shift. Stakeholders rethink. New ideas emerge. Agile breaks the project into small, manageable chunks called sprints, iterations, or cycles. Each cycle produces a working piece of software. This means Agile teams work closely with stakeholders throughout the lifecycle. And this working piece of software that comes out of each sprint, out of each cycle, certainly helps with this closer working contact with stakeholders. The working piece of software can be reviewed and refined based on stakeholder feedback, which is essential. So we will not get any surprises. At the end of the project, when the software is finished, we won't have the situation where they turn around and say, well, it doesn't do everything we thought it was going to do, because of those creeping requirements we've discussed already. So the Agile approach is designed to address that possible problem. So we can say creeping requirements can be addressed throughout the life cycle. And I'm not sure calling them creeping requirements when you're using the Agile approach is the best thing to do, because they're just requirements. They suddenly haven't appeared when you finish the project and you think, oh, I've got to go back and do it all again now. You're continually building on the requirements. It's a much better approach to the development of software to take into account what we've been considering in terms of the problems you get with the waterfall model of developing software. With the agile approach to the development of software, the focus is on collaboration, adaptability, and delivering value early and often throughout the life cycle. There is no longer fear about creeping requirements. The agile approach welcomes them. Ultimately, it turns the problem of change into a mechanism for improvement. So when we build using the agile development process, we know we're going to have a development cycle or a sprint where we do analysis, design, coding, and testing. You have a piece of software that you can show the stakeholder. So in the next development cycle, you go through the same process again. As you can see, the analysis, design, coding, and testing. You have a piece of software which you can take into the next development cycle to assist with the analysis to get more accurate requirements, then do design, coding, and testing. And you continue doing this for as many cycles as necessary. Now, how long are each of these cycles? Well, that's something for another video, and we can discuss things often referred to as time boxing, where you would set a sprint to a specific time, typically 4 weeks, for example. So what we're looking at here is the agile model for software development. And essentially, the agile model helps overcome the problem of creeping requirements.